Welcome to Stargatezing, a Stargate gazing podcast. I'm your host, Kathy.
And I'm your other host, Mary.
And every other week, we discuss an episode of Stargate, beginning with Stargate SG-1. Hello.
Hello.
How's it going?
Okay, how are you?
I'm okay. Yeah.
How were your computer updates?
Oh, they were so thrilling. I love watching that, 77% completed. Okay, thanks. So good.
Super helpful and
Yeah.
great timing.
Yeah. I redid my setup here, so hopefully there will not be any echo.
Yeah. Coconut's pretty sure it's playtime right now.
Oh, man.
Because she keeps offering her favorite toy to me. And I'm going to take her collar off because it's very jingly. Excuse me, bug this. I'm going to take that.
So I went with the blanket over me situation here.
I also have a blanket. My house is very cold and I don't like it.
I mean, I have it over my whole body, like over my head to block the...
Nice.
But I also have other blankets as well on me, so... Although it's quite warm under here, so that's good.
I would imagine.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to when we move. I will have a better space set up then, but until then, here we are.
Woo! I am using a broken fan and a stool and a laundry hanger thingy to keep this blanket from touching my head. Yeah.
Good times.
Sitting on the floor of the living room. I can hear Pepper snoring on the couch, but hopefully no one else can.
I do not hear her.
She's ridiculous.
She's ridiculous. All of our animals snore. Actually, Coconut doesn't snore too often, but now and then she does. Lily and Potato both snore a lot.
Did I hear a can crack open?
Yeah, it's just seltzer. It's nothing interesting. Nice. Although I did just have a slightly mighty before that, and I was like, well, maybe I'll just have a seltzer for now.
I do like the slightly mighties.
It's tasty.
I am again drinking some NA athletic beer, so
nice.
I have some for Friday too.
Fabulous.
I haven't tried that one yet. It's a cherry stout.
Ooh,
I'm excited.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, hopefully it's good.
I will probably have one more drink. I'm trying to not be too horribly monstrous, and we had pizza last night for dinner, so I'm like, maybe I won't eat all of the things and drink all of the beers today like I did yesterday.
I've been a food monster, just not a drink monster.
I've been a both monster. But it's so much more fun than not.
It really is. It really is. And being in my house all the time is mostly okay, except for that since generally I was using being at home time to sit on my couch and do nothing pre-pandemic and do things outside the house all other times. It leads to a lot of sitting around and doing nothing because that is what my house is for.
Yeah, I really like sitting home most of the time. And I am not looking forward to necessarily having a job where I don't get to sit home all the time, if I find one where that will be the case.
Yeah.
And also, I don't want to exercise anymore outside anyway because it's cold out and exercising inside is boring, and I have been anyway, but I am much less likely to exercise for sustained periods of time if I have to do so indoors than when I could, go to the park or gym we were going to, or go for a run outside where the weather is nice. Because the weather is cold and icky right now. And also, I'm not going to any gyms because COVID,
yeah.
working out at, or whatever.
Yeah. I heard it's almost over.
Oh, yeah. I heard it's going to be over on November 4th.
Oh, so we're good then.
Yep. We're fine. It ended a long time ago, Kathy.
Yeah.
Were you not aware of that?
I forgot. You get confused.
Yeah, I can see why. It's easy. It's easy to get confused about these things.
I do need to find a way to comfortably sit in this new location, but whatever. It's fine. Everything's fine. I'll just try not to move around too much at the microphone.
That's probably a good option and idea.
Yeah. God damn it. Nothing works. Okay. I'm going back to the position I was in, and my knee can just fucking suck it up. Okay.
Stupid knee.
Stupid
Who
knee.
needs knees anyway? You have another one.
I know. Well, both of them are still both slightly janky after, I fell off my bike how many years ago?
Yeah, that
it
was a long time
so
ago.
many years ago, but still the MCL on both of them is still a little, it hurts sometimes, and being in certain positions.
Knees are really not well designed, but since we were relying on evolution instead of design, we got what we got. So here we are.
I heard design was intelligent, and that's what we had.
Yep, of course.
I'm wrong. I know.
Mm-hmm.
I heard it from the same people who said COVID was over November 4th.
It's shocking. That's shocking to me. Good times.
Yeah.
Speaking of weird science, should we talk about this episode?
Sure. I ignored any weird science.
I actually don't have too much of an issue with most of what they had to say for once. Most of it was okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. So today we are talking about Stargate SG-1 Season 1 Episode 15, Singularity. We get a little silly scene in the gate room. The Stargate's opening up and SG-1 comes in, and they're talking about how they're going to go see a black hole, and it's going to be super cool. Yeah.
Yep.
So I guess they're hoping to see the matter spiraling into the black hole during an eclipse on another planet.
Yes, since you can't see a black hole directly itself, technically, theoretically.
And Jack, is like, oh, actually, it's an accretion disk.
Yeah.
And
Daniel
like, continues. Yeah, especially Daniel, though, because he takes a moment and then he's still talking about something else, and suddenly he whips around like, what?
Jack knows a science thing? What?
Yeah. And Sam says to him, you didn't think he just uses his telescope to look at his neighbors.
But then, of course, he's like, not at first, anyway.
Yeah. And then they go through the gate.
Yep. And that's it. There's a lot of short scenes in this one.
There are.
On the new planet, there was supposed to be an SG team there to meet them. SG-7, I believe.
Yes.
And there's nobody there. So they start walking down the path towards this kind of distant town and find an unconscious guy on the road. And when Jack flips him over, they see sores all over his face. Jack orders what he says is Mop 4, so they put on basically the same hoods that they were using in the Cold Lazarus episode. So these are multi-purpose, I guess. And cleans off his hands with some yellow crumbly looking stuff from a packet. And then he orders Daniel and Teal'c to go and check out the village to see why nobody is looking for this random dead guy on the road, and to see what might have happened to the other people in town, and as well as possibly SG-7. And then he and Sam head to the observatory to see what is happening there.
Did you like the sign when they come out of the gate, and there's a sign that's like, welcome to Hanka?
Yeah.
And it's, at first I was like, did the people who live there put that up, or are they just super friendly? But then I saw it had like a planet designation, so I'm like, no, it's SG-7 or somebody did that, because... But I thought that was nice, a little friendly greeting.
I thought that was funny too, yeah, because it's the first time that we've actually seen anything like that on any planet.
Yeah.
It was amusing.
And we don't learn anything pretty much about these people, so
nope.
You don't know if they're friendly, if they have dealt with other people traveling through the Stargate or what. Right. So, but it was fun. I liked the sign. Yeah. Jack and Sam make it to the observatory. And they see their big telescope they've got set up ready for the eclipse. This
is like the most high-tech society that we've really kind of seen so far, because most of them have been like, ancient Egyptian or ancient Minoan or what have you. Not a whole lot of technology that they've kind of developed themselves, other than like the Goa'uld technology, which is supposedly super advanced. But these people had like that giant telescope and computers that kind of look like they could have come out of the 1960s. So I thought it was an interesting change from what we've seen before.
I didn't notice enough. I assumed that the SGC had brought all that stuff over.
Oh, I guess we never really get any confirmation, but that would have been a lot of stuff for them to bring over. And to me, I thought it looked like it was all a little bit too old to have come from SGC, but also maybe I'm Forgetting how old
Car-
90s tech really would be. So yeah, maybe you're right.
Carter really wants to see that black hole, so um, so they're looking around because obviously they had not found anybody yet, and they make their way into an area, sleeping quarters it looks like, with bunk beds, and then they find the SG team is there, and they are all dead.
Yep.
And they have these like ugly lesion things on their skin,
Yep.
and then Daniel is yelling and comes in, and he's like, "They're all dead. Everyone's dead."
She's dead. He's dead. Must be dead. He was worse than dead. His brain is gone.
Dun dun dun.
Everyone is dead. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah. And then we get credits.
Yeah.
And then we get a very quick scene at the gate of a hazmat team walking from the gate to the village. End scene. Take it away, Kathy.
Oh, I think I combined this with what came after, I think, in my notes.
I see. You want me to keep going?
Yes.
Okay. At the observatory, SG-1 is just finishing decontamination. They're spraying them down with some white stuff, and Dr. Fraser is there, saying that the whole complex has been decontaminated now. Sam is estimating that there are about 1,000 people dead, but Dr. Fraser wants to know why no message or warning of any kind was sent to let them know exactly what was happening. So SG-1 figures that it must have happened really fast if SG-7 or anybody else on the planet for that matter never got the chance to send any kind of message through to warn them about what was happening. SG-1 wants to go and take a look around at the planet, but Dr. Fraser says that she for sure wants to check them all out first, especially Jack, since he's one that actually touched one of the dead bodies. Daniel sneezes.
Yes, he does.
And Jack is like, "That's totally just allergies, right?" Is it?
We don't know, but that definitely had a, like, every time we cough, now we're like,
It
it's not
I know.
COVID, I swear.
It did very much remind me of the now times.
Yeah. I also like Carter totally gives him like this side eye as she walks by him too.
Yeah. Can you blame her? I mean, that's how I look at
No.
everybody that I hear coughing in public now.
That is true. I just want to say the last two episodes, I really liked Frasier's hair.
Oh, I hadn't
It's
noticed.
been like nice and bouncy, and it's just a good look for her.
Nice.
I don't know. It's just, yeah.
Hadn't noticed. I'll have to pay more attention next time.
It's very important that you do.
It is extremely important.
It was especially bouncy last episode,
Nice.
but this one too. So then we're outside, and the team is in full hazmat suit things, except for Teal'c, who is immune to all things because he has a hagfish inside.
Indeed.
But can he not, like, pick something up on his clothes? I mean, I guess they can't contaminate them after they get out of their outfit, their hazmat suits anyway, but
Yeah, I think that's the theory, but I would think it would be better for him to at least, like, wear the suit, even if he wasn't necessarily keeping the hood on. Because
would've
the
thought.
cloth and all of the folds and the many layers are probably going to be way harder to decontaminate than just the plastic
Maybe he
surface
just-
or whatever it is that those suits are made out of.
Maybe he just takes his clothes off when he gets back and shoots his weapon at them and
Just incinerates
incinerates
them,
them. Yep.
I do not know what reusing clothing means. I do this every night, regardless of contaminants. This is how Jaffa roll.
Where do the Jaffa get their new clothes every day? Pray tell.
It is a Jaffa secret.
Maybe they store a bunch of clothes in their pouch.
Oh, gross. Then why wouldn't they be wet and slimy and apparently yellow?
So they're walking along, and Daniel's saying, "Oh, the indigenous people told him this would happen. That there, with the darkness comes the apocalypse. That's part of their lore." And apparently, it came true. And he's like, "Oh, I told them it was just an eclipse, nothing to worry about. Very regretful." They are coming across bodies, and what they're doing is putting little red tags on them, I guess to count them, and mark them as having been found.
Yeah, I guess so. So that if they find like a random body, they know whether or not it's been accounted for, I think. Because they do end up with a final tally eventually. So yeah, I think
that's
right
true.
that they're using that as a count.
The tag is just... Carter puts a tag on this woman, and it's just kind of tucked under her hand a little bit, not really affixed. And I was like, what if the wind picks up? And it looks like the tag's got some barcodes on it, and the planet designation, which was PX8987, in case anyone
I had not noticed that.
wanted to know that. And then we see a child's hand reach out from the taller grass and take the tag off of the dead woman. And Carter notices this, and she's trying to get this tiny hand of a child to come out. So she's like, it's okay, we're not, we're friendly, it's okay to come out. And she surmises the problem is they look really scary in their suits. So Jack then orders Teal'c to go look friendly at the girl and get her to come out.
Teal'c does tend to scowl a lot, so...
He does!
It is probably a good idea that Jack specify he should look friendly as he tries to get the kid. Because he was actively scowling at the time, too.
He was. But Teal'c moves around to, and encounters the girl and tells her they're not going to hurt her, and he reaches out his hand, and she reaches out and comes out to him. He did look way less intimidating.
Yes. He was actually smiling.
The expression on his face, like a real smile, not like that other weird smile that I think somebody told him to try to smile.
Yeah, and he had like a creepy, phony smile. Yeah. No, this seemed more genuine. I mean, I can't blame him. I get really annoyed when people tell me to smile too, and I often will also give them a fake smile similar to the one from that other episode.
Yeah, just don't tell people to smile.
Yeah, definitely don't tell people to smile, especially not if you are an older man telling a younger woman to smile. And that should be prettier if she smiled. Don't do that.
I mean, I guess it's okay if you have a camera out and you're taking a picture of somebody who wants you to take their picture and you're like, smile. I guess it's okay.
That's probably like the one time that's okay. Back at the observatory, Sam and Dr. Fraiser are checking the kid out. Sam's trying to comfort her, and Dr. Fraiser says it's going to be okay to take their masks off because it seems to be a bacterial infection, and they will probably be able to treat it now that they know, but in any case, it's not airborne, so it should be fine to have their masks removed. Sam tries to talk to the kid, who hangs the red tag on herself, but Sam assures the kid she does not need to be wearing that because she's not going to die. She is not currently dead, and tries to take the tag from the kid, but for whatever reason, the kid really wants to hang on to it and does not let Sam have it. Over across the room, Dr. Fraiser is looking at some numbers and all of a sudden is like, wow, this can't be right. And Sam is like, oh no, she's infected, isn't she? So Dr. Fraiser says, no, she's technically fine, but she has a bunch of the Stargate material known as naquita in her blood. And maybe that somehow has something to do with why she didn't get infected. But it's still weird to be finding this in someone's blood. Then some random guy comes over and hands Fraiser a folder for no apparent reason, and that's the end of the scene.
Woo! I love getting handed folders for no reason. It's my favorite thing.
It made me wonder, like, was there supposed to be something else that happened after that? Otherwise, like, why bother including that in the scene?
I don't know. The whole team now is talking. Fraiser and Sam have bad news, and that is that they've discovered the entire area, including the water and the soil, is all contaminated.
That's inconvenient.
It is. Fraiser goes on to say that the bacteria, again, is not airborne, but survives in a variety of environments, so very not good. On the bright side, the team's not infected, and neither is the girl. Woohoo! And also, for good measure, because Fraiser's a smart lady, she checked, and the girl is not a Goa'uld.
Yeah, that's a good thing to look for. They should have done that with Hathor last episode, but they didn't.
So they decide they're going to take her back with them. Carter thinks they should stay a while longer because she needs to do science.
Yeah, they still had the original mission that she wants to finish, which is understandable.
And she argues that all the people died for nothing if they don't do their scientific experiments.
Yeah, that logic doesn't really track to me.
No, but it's okay. They're convinced anyway, so Teal'c and Jack are gonna stay behind. Carter can't go because in the meantime, the girl has come out and grabbed Carter's arm and is clinging to her, so clearly Carter needs to go back with her.
At the Henka gate, Daniel, Sam, and the girl are all in hazmat suits, and they are trying to tell the kid that she doesn't need to be scared. It's okay. It'll be kind of fun to go through the gate. And so they both take her hands and go through the gate together. At the Earthside gate, they are immediately sprayed down when they enter the room as part of the first step of decontamination. And now they've got a new decontamination airlock that's been installed at the door of the gate room, which you would think should have been there this whole time already, but here we are.
Yeah. This isn't their first encounter with things they brought back from the other side, so yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Really, I feel like maybe this should be standard procedure.
You would think it should be, but it's not, because we never see that thing again after this episode either.
No. I think I've only seen that kind of thing once before, and that was at Litchfield Hills Road Race because it was so hot.
Oh, really?
Firefighters had set up one of those things and were spraying water, not like decontamination stuff at us, because that would have been really weird.
You don't have to decontaminate just because it's hot. Someone might want to tell them that because it would make their race planning way easier.
Right.
So anyway, they take the kid to the new guest room, which is way less fancy than the old guest room. So I'm guessing that Hathor and Daniel must have like really caused a ton of damage when they were getting it on last time. So they need a different guest room.
Or maybe the little girl just isn't worthy of such fine quarters.
Yeah, she's not worthy of the fanciness. So she gets one with a much smaller bed, a smaller room. And Sam tries to leave her there, but she says that she'll be back later to check on the kid. But the kid kind of holds on to her and makes it clear that she does not want Sam to leave, so Sam does not leave.
Aww. So in the conference room, they're watching the little girl in her room, and she's already gotten some upgrades. There's a nice bedspread on there, and she's got posters now, and there's a table and chairs. So that's really nice. Yeah. They fixed her up a little bit.
That's good that they're trying to make the poor traumatized child comfortable.
It was good, yeah.
Because we've already seen like a few episodes before that Hammond doesn't really put a whole lot of stock in mental health, so... That
is true.
So that's good that they're at least trying to make the kid comfortable.
Yeah. Fraser reports they found 1,432 people dead on the planet. And she thinks they could be indirectly responsible, perhaps by bringing a harmless bacteria from Earth to their planet, where it learned some new traits from a local organism and mutated. Sounds terrible.
Yeah. Technically a real thing that can happen, though, like assuming that they were genetically compatible, lateral gene transfer is where bacteria can actually like transfer genes between species and between non-related individuals. So theoretically real science.
Also a thing they should probably worry about on every mission they do.
Right.
Again.
Exactly.
But again, I guess if they have to worry about all of that, all episodes would be spent doing all this preparation. We'd never actually get to anything interesting. So
true.
Hammond, wants to be reassured that they did not take any of this very deadly infection back with them through the Stargate, and he is assured that no. And Fraser thinks the girl might have a natural immunity that saved her, and then also might be able to be used to not only fight that, but other infections on Earth.
Not likely, but maybe.
She's got big plans for this girl. Hammond asks why the team didn't report the outbreak. Fraser and Daniel give each other kind of a look before saying they don't know. Yeah. I'm not sure what that look was about, but we look at the monitor again, and we zoom in on Sam with an elephant hand puppet, and then it zooms further in, and then we transition very nicely into the girls' room with Sam and the girl.
Yeah, I thought that was a nice transition, too. Kind of the opposite of what we saw a couple episodes ago, where they were in the old-timey past and zoomed out to show Daniel watching a monitor.
Yeah.
I thought it was nice. In the bunk room, Sam's trying to show the kid how to eat a hot dog, but the kid apparently just wants to eat one plain without a bun. And
I can't believe they started this kid on Earth food with fucking hot dogs.
but hot dogs are great.
Hot dogs are monstrous.
Hot dogs are delicious, and your opinions are bad, and you should feel bad.
They're disgusting. I feel no badness about hating hot dogs.
Hot dogs are amazing. I am trying to be more vegetarian, but I will always love hot dogs.
I in theory am, but I made a beef Wellington this week, so we'll it's not going great.
No, I guess not.
It's been in my head and I needed to get it out of my system.
I've never had beef Wellington, but it sounds amazing.
It's delicious. It's so good.
Seems like it would be.
It was a lot of work. I mean, it wasn't that much work. It was a little bit of work. I've done worse.
That's more than I typically put into any meal, so it means I will never eat it unless someday going to restaurants is a thing again. That is not a terrible idea the way it is now.
Do you know, I've looked around for restaurants that serve it, and most of them seem to only do it as like a special, so you'd have to catch them on the right night, at least around here. I don't know. And also, I don't go to super fancy restaurants because I don't have that kind of money, but
Fair.
you know, okay fancy restaurants.
Anyway,
that was a complete tangent. Sorry.
Anyway, kid's eating her hot dog, and they are doing some drawing. The girl has drawn a picture of herself crying over all of the dead bodies of everyone she knows, so that was super sad. But Sam adds a little stick figure next to the kid, presumably meant to represent Sam, and tells the kid that she's not alone, and that does make the kid smile.
It was a little rude of her to just mess up this girl's art like that.
I agree. You should never draw on. You should never ever draw on someone else's artwork. I very much agree with that. And I used to take a lot of art classes, and it always drove me crazy whenever I had a teacher that would do that. And there's a lot of debate among art teachers that I have known about whether or not you should, but I don't think you should.
It seems wrong.
Yeah.
Like, unless someone explicitly asks you to help them.
I remember a few times in art classes thinking that like whatever the teacher had added or changed actually completely ruined what I was trying to go for, so don't do it.
Bah.
Yeah.
Bah. All right. Then we get another funny little scene on the planet with Jack and Teal'c. They're just sitting around waiting for the eclipse so they can do their telescoping. They have 8 hours apparently still to go. That's a lot of time.
Yes. Why did they wait there the whole time? Like, why didn't they have them come back here and then go back and reduce their risk of exposure by not spending so much time on the planet? I mean, I guess they said that the place was decontaminated there, so maybe they thought the trip itself back and forth would risk extra contamination.
Maybe that could be, right?
Yeah, I guess.
I don't know. Teal'c doesn't not understand a black hole, so Jack tries to explain it's a really big thing and a massive hole out there.
He's not a good science educator.
No, but Teal'c says I see, so he's understanding Jack's explanation.
Yes.
Then Jack elaborates that everything gets sucked in, even the light, which is why we can't see it. And then Teal'c thanks him for his lesson.
Yeah, he does seem to kind of get it. He doesn't like have a confused look when he thanks him and doesn't seem to be facetious about it. So presumably he gets it. Despite the poor explanation.
Yeah.
Back on Earth in the bunk room, Sam is sitting on the bed with the kid, and the kid is sleeping. Daniel comes in and offers to take over babysitting duty, but the kid does not want Sam to go. She's just woken up at this point. And she actually grabs Sam's hand and can apparently speak English because she asks Sam not to go. Sam asks what her name is, and it turns out the kid's name is Cassandra. And Cassandra tells Sam that she hurts. And when Sam asks where, she points to her heart, which I thought was emotional pain, but we will soon learn that that actually is not the case.
Yeah. I also initially thought maybe that's where they were going with that.
Right. Which would, again, be super understandable because the kid just lost everyone she knows.
Yeah.
She seems to be actually doing surprisingly well given what horribleness has just happened.
Yeah. Agreed. I'm not sure I would be so good.
No.
I'm also not a kid, but
True.
I don't know. So they go have her examined, or Carter takes her to Fraser, and Fraser has examined her and has found no fluid in her lungs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wait, yeah. Okay.
Sounds fine.
The girl had described it as a sharp stabbing pain.
Mm-hmm.
And then Fraser pulls Sam aside and confesses she doesn't know what to do because she has a ridiculous or potassium deficiency all of a sudden. And she doesn't know how or why it got so low so fast. But one of the effects of that could be an arrhythmia. So maybe that explains her chest pain issue. Carter then starts to take her back to her room when the girl suddenly doubles over and then is completely unresponsive. She's just falls into Carter's arms and then laid on the table. They do some chest compressions on her, and it turns into a little like ER scene.
Indeed.
With all kinds of crazy things. They're doing chest compressions. She's barking orders. They end up shocking her heart.
Medical jargon.
Yeah.
Left and right.
It's crazy. Then she listens to the girl's heart and is like, we need a chest x-ray right now. And Carter's like, what's wrong? And Fraser hands her the stethoscope for a listen, which they let us hear the sound too.
Mm-hmm.
So it clearly doesn't sound like any other TV heartbeat I've ever heard, or my cat's heartbeat, which are the only heartbeats I've listened to. So clearly there is something weird about it, but if I hadn't heard it on TV, I might not have known the difference.
Yeah. The issue is that there's a noise in between the heartbeats, kind of like a heart murmur, but to me it sounded like more metallic than an actual heart murmur. I mean, again, I'm not a doctor, but I've heard recordings of heart murmurs, and so it sounded a lot more metallic than that would, but typically between heartbeats you should not be hearing any additional noise.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Pepper's heart beats really fast.
Because she's a kitty.
She is. And then she purrs, and it takes forever to stop the purring so you can actually get her heart rate. Which I have to do because she gets so stressed at the vet that it's always super high to the point where the vet's like, she needs more meds.
Good times.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Cat Cast also getting in here a little bit. I bet there's a podcast called Cat Cast, and they'll be disappointed if it's not about cats, but it's about someone named Cat or something like that.
That would be way more boring.
Yeah. So then we see a chest x-ray with a round thingy object inside her chest.
It's a good way to describe it. It's just a weird looking thing.
Yeah. Smartly, they told Hammond about it because he's there also, rather than revealing it at a more dramatic time where he might need to know these things. And he wants to know what it is. They don't know. It wasn't there 10 hours ago. Dun dun dun.
Dun, dun, dun. A little bit later in the surgical theater, Cassandra is unconscious and they have her laying on the table and they're using an arthroscope to try to get a better look at the thing. Dr. Fraser says that parts of it seem to be organic, but it looks like a metal ball when they're actually showing pictures of it. The main surgeon, who is not actually Dr. Fraser, is trying to get a biopsy of it, but then there's some pretty hard surfaces that he's trying to scrape for samples instead. And as he's doing this, Cassandra's heart rate keeps climbing and climbing, and Dr. Fraser tells him that he needs to stop. But then all of a sudden, Cassandra flatlines, so they go to shock her again, even though flatlining is not a shockable rhythm. But her heart rate comes back all of a sudden before they actually do get the paddles on her.
Oh, the other doctor, I think she names him later as Dr. Warner, who is the cool-headed doctor from The Enemy Within who managed to sound the alarm before, what's his name? Oh my god.
Oh, nice.
Kowalski kills him.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
Good to know they brought him back.
Yeah.
Shortly after that, we're having another one of those walk and talk kinds of scenes. Dr. Fraser and Hammond are in a hallway, and there's some formal-looking randos behind them, following them. And Dr. Fraser tells Hammond that the thing seems to be in control of her heart and can stop it in an instance. But they are still waiting on analysis to figure out exactly what it is and what it's made out of.
That's a smart thing, whatever the thingy is.
Apparently.
You can just kill her at will.
Apparently so.
Why did I write girl mom? That doesn't make sense.
The girl calls her mom?
Oh, thank you. Like, what does that mean?
Or
girl
calls
mom?
for her mom anyway.
Sorry. I'm fine. Everything's fine. I make totally sensical notes.
Like Mother Boy.
the Tobias Funke of this series. No, that's not right. Buster
No, it's
Bluth.
Buster.
Sister's my new mother.
Oh my god. I blew that one.
I'm afraid I just blew myself.
You did.
So back with Sam and Cassandra. Cassandra is sleeping but calls out mom and then wakes up and tells Carter she was dreaming about her mom and that she misses her mom and she's tired. So Carter tells her to get some rest and that everything's gonna be fine and she's gonna show her the planet one day. And then they hug.
They do.
Carter gets up and leaves, I think, after she tucks her back in. And Daniel is outside sitting on a chair reading in the hallway for some reason. Like, it's just a random chair. That chair does not belong there. So he deliberately brought it here and is reading outside the room.
It's not a comfortable looking chair. It's not a place where you would
No.
just necessarily hang out.
But
So
Daniel
he's clearly
cares.
waiting. He does care.
Yeah, Daniel cares. So, and he offers to basically babysit her tomorrow so Sam can get a break. And she says that no, she's fine. But then goes to leave, but then turns back and says that she wants to do this. And Daniel's like, you don't have to do this alone. And I was like, oh,
So
Daniel.
nice. Back in the observatory, Jack says that it is shoe time finally, so I guess their 8-hour wait is up.
Woohoo!
He and Teal'c get the microscope ready to go. And Jack looks through it and says, wow. Back in the lab, Sam and Daniel are looking at the chest x-ray again. Sam says that the layers of fatty tissue surrounding the device are decaying slowly. And Daniel asks what that means or why that's important. And Sam says she's going to do an experiment to find out what the significance of that is. So apparently one side of the thing is made up of iron and potassium, while the other side is made of naquadah, which is again that element that the gate is made out of. And Sam says that potassium is one of the most volatile alkaline metals on Earth, and that combining it with even just a small amount of naquadah would be really, really bad. So she's going to try to actually do an experiment to figure out exactly how bad that is by using one of the lead-lined rooms that they have in the basement of the facility, and she's got 2 robot arms, each holding just the tiniest microscopic particle of the two metals, potassium and naquadah. And so she slowly brings the arms together, and then there's an explosion, and the screen goes blank. Dr. Fraser says that the readings are off the chart for both gamma and particle radiation, and Daniel's like, well, are we safe here? And they assure him that it is, because it was a lead-lined room that they were doing the experiment in. But the long story short for this one is that if 2 particles could cause that huge of a reaction, then the whole big thing inside of Cassandra would cause a huge reaction 1,000,000 times bigger.
Not good. Back on the planet, Jack is looking through the telescope while Teal'c watches the eclipse on the computer. Jack sees something and asks, what is that? And they zoom in on this something, and it's too close to determine to be a star, but then Teal'c actually recognizes it as a Gould attack vessel.
Nice.
Uh-oh. Back at the SGC, they are in the conference room again, and Daniel is telling him, and it's a setup, it has to be the Gould killed everyone on the planet except Cassandra, and then made them think it was their fault because they knew the humans would bring her back with them.
Mm-hmm.
That's terrible.
Yes.
And it's very diabolical, apparently, what they've done, because they didn't detect it when they were coming back through the gate, and it didn't form until later.
Right.
And that they may have even, facilitated the development of this device inside Cassandra by giving her iron supplements and shocking her heart. So they think that the bomb will at least destroy the SGC, and Daniel's like, they use this girl like a Trojan horse, and Hammond wants to know how long they have, and they precisely have 1 hour and 52 minutes until this bomb goes off, because the cellular decay is happening like clockwork, so they can accurately predict that time.
Science.
Science.
Back in the bunk room, Daniel and Sam are watching Cassandra sleep and talking about how monstrous the Goa'uld are for essentially making a bomb out of her and making her really sick. And Sam's getting teary and says she knows she's supposed to remain detached. And Daniel's like, says who? And Sam says, oh right, I tend to forget that you are not also military. Back at the observatory, Jack and Teal'c are watching the ship on screen. And Teal'c says that he recognizes it as the ship of the Goa'uld Nirti, who is an enemy of Apophis. And we see little things that seem to be flying away from it all of a sudden. So Jack asks what the hell that was, and Teal'c is quite alarmed at this point and says that they need to get out of there.
Back at the SGC, Hammond has just gotten off his red phone. Not sure if he was talking to Bestie President, because he does talk to other people on that phone, but
Apparently.
he could have been talking to them.
Yeah, I thought up to this point we were kind of under the impression that it's just for the president, but then he asks to talk to someone else on it later.
Yeah. Sam is like, this decision is not easy, and Hammond's like, well, the decision's easy, but the consequences are difficult. And Carter's like, isn't there any other way? Taking this object out of the girl will kill her.
Yeah.
So they don't have any other choice except for to send the girl back through the Stargate within the next hour and 20 minutes. And Carter volunteers to go with her, and Hammond says, actually, we're going to add SG-4 to that, and on the way back, also pick up a Jack and Teal'c.
The Jack and Teal'c, please.
Yes.
On the other planet, Teal'c and Jack are running for the gate while dodging fire from Goa'uld's aircraft that are shooting at them. They dive off the path and take cover in some trees while they're trying to hide and wait for the aircraft to pass, and Teal'c takes a moment here to continue to explain who Nirti is, and says that at one point in the past, Nirti sent an emissary of peace to try to negotiate a treaty with Apophis regarding a Stargate that Apophis had taken control of, but the negotiation was all just a ploy and the gate was destroyed. So Jack asks how, and Teal'c says that as soon as he entered the Stargate, it's actually a little ambiguous who he was, but I'm assuming it actually meant the emissary of peace. As soon as he entered the Stargate, there was a massive explosion, and Jack takes a second to think about it, and then he's like, oh, the girl, and Teal'c nods. And I'm assuming that it was the emissary because we know that Nirti and Apophis are still both alive, and that's the only other person they were talking about.
Right. So back in the gate room, everyone is suited up and ready to go to the planet. That's the end of that scene.
Yep.
We flip back to Jack and Teal'c running for the gate. So we do a lot of back and forth in this part where, for dramatic effect, I think.
Quite.
Obviously, yeah.
It's effective.
Yeah, so Jack and Teal'c running for the gate, still being fired upon, and then back in the gate room, the gate is dialing, and the girl collapses. Cassandra. Back on the planet, Jack almost gets hit, but then falls over. He's missed, but is very close. And Teal'c starts dialing the gate. Fraser reaches the girl on the other side. She's in a coma, she says. Can you know that immediately of someone?
No.
I don't know about that.
No.
Okay. The gate just opens, so they hadn't finished dialing, so this is coming from Teal'c's side of things. They're like, oh no, but then they're like, it's okay, there's a SG-1 signal, so then Jack and Teal'c run through the gate. That's how they run.
They do. And they're followed by some shrapnel, too, I noticed.
Oh, I missed that.
Because when they came through the gate, Dr. Fraser and Sam both, bodily blocked Cassandra, and I'm like, why did they just throw themselves on top of Cassandra just because the two guys were coming through? So I actually rewound it and noticed that there was actually, shrapnel and rocks and dust that came through after Jack and Teal'c.
Oh, man.
And it wasn't until they showed that stuff coming through that Dr. Fraser and Sam then dove on top of Cassandra to protect her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. And then Jack yells, get the girl away from the gate. Ah. And then he pulls his hat off and hasn't had any decontamination at all because clearly it came through too fast.
I would hope at least that they decontaminate all of them before the next scene where they're all going up the stairs.
I hope so.
And we have SG-1, all of SG-1, Hammond and Dr. Fraser. Jack is telling them that SG-7 was killed to keep them from warning Stargate Command about what was happening on the planet, and it was all part of the Goa'uld plan. Daniel asks what they are supposed to do now. Hammond, talking to Teal'c, says that Dr. Fraser said that the device was on a timer, and Hammond asks if Teal'c is absolutely sure that the thing would automatically go off despite the timer. if they were to send Cassandra through the gate. And Tilk says yes, because the aim would be to destroy the Earth Gate altogether to get rid of the threat that's posed by SGC. Sam says that Cassandra's condition deteriorated rapidly when she got near the Stargate, and Hammond says, well, we can't risk this facility, so we need to take her somewhere else. And Jack mentions an abandoned nuclear facility nearby. Hammond excitedly remembers that that thing is only 20 minutes away, so he goes to his office and picks up the red phone, and that's when he asks for the Secretary of Defense, and we find out that it's not just the president he talks to on that phone.
He's got a lot of good friends.
He does have many besties.
Yeah. Then they take a truck
Yes.
to the place.
Yes. That's pretty much it for that scene.
So they head inside once they arrive at this abandoned nuclear facility. They walk through a long corridor to room 1, and Jack offers to take Cassandra from Sam, who is still carrying this unconscious girl, and Sam refuses. She's going to take this girl apparently down, Jack says, 30 floors of solid rock. It's a 3-minute ride down the elevator. And then that's going to give her 4 minutes before she has to start to go back up before the girl goes boom.
Yes.
That's terrible.
It is quite terrible.
Yeah.
Even worse is the fact that in the elevator on the way down, Cassandra wakes up and asks Sam where they're going. And Sam tells her to go back to sleep, but the kid says she's not tired anymore, so Sam puts her down, and Cassandra asks why Sam is crying, and Sam's like, no, I'm fine. Everything's good. It's all good. On the surface, everyone's watching the elevator count, the floor count, on a little screen. And then back in the elevator, Sam and Cassandra get off on the bottom level.
Ground floor perfumery, stationery and leather goods, wigs and haberdashery.
And go into this bunker-like room. Sam tells Cassandra to sit down and rest for a little bit, and that she has to go. But Cassandra's like, but you promised you'd never leave me alone, and Sam promises that she'll be back, which I'm sure must have been awfully difficult. But she tells the kid that she was being really brave, and says that when she goes, she's going to have to close the door, but again, she's promised that she'll come back. And so she gets up, she closes the door, the kid gets up and starts calling to her, and Sam is just crying her eyes out at this point as she's locking the kid into this bunker and turning the giant wheel on the door to secure it closed. She gets back in the elevator, starts to head up, and is having a really tough time dealing with this whole situation. Yeah, basically.
That's me, but yeah.
And suddenly she's like collapsed on the floor basically at this point in tears, and suddenly jumps up and hits the stop button and tells the elevator to go back down. Jack, of course, since he was watching the numbers at the top, realizes that this is happening, and so calls her on the comm system and tells her that she needs to get back up there right away. But of course Sam calls back down and says that she's staying, and Colonel tries to make it an order, but of course, because nobody listens to orders on the Stargate team, she's like, nope, I'm going back down. And so Sam gets back to the bottom. She goes back into the room that she just locked up and locks the door again, but this time with herself inside.
Ugh. So with a minute left, Jack tries to tell Daniel and Teal'c to leave.
Yep.
And again, that's not going to happen. Yeah. They're not listening.
He didn't make an order this
them,
time,
but...
at least. But...
Yeah. And then we are back down in the sad room with Carter and Cassandra.
Yep.
And they're both very brave.
Yep.
And the girl's like, I love you. And Sam's like, I love you too.
Back up on the surface.
Oh my God.
Jack's watching his watch, and he's like, here we go. And the timer counts down to 0 and blinks, and then nothing happens. And Daniel asks, well, what if we're wrong about the time? Which is a very valid question that everyone just seems to kind of blow off. Jack calls down, and Sam answers, and she's like, yeah, we're fine. Everything's fine here. How are you?
Well, those processes are like clockwork, Mary.
Yeah,
so
of course.
I think we're okay.
Yeah, biological processes for sure work like clockwork. If there's one thing I know about biology, it's that.
I'm also picking up your Star Wars there. So.
Thank you.
Just in case it wasn't clear. I heard that.
Sam says that she just couldn't leave Cassandra, but that they are perfectly fine and that nothing happens. And Jack asks how she knew nothing was going to happen, and Sam says that it occurred to her that Cassandra only slipped into a coma when she got near the gate, but woke up when she got further away from it, and then she just knew. And Jack's like, knew. And I guess that's enough of an explanation, because that's the only explanation that we really get.
Yep. So we get our final scene. We are outside in a park. Daniel and Sam are holding on to Cassandra, who's doing that like jump swing between two adults that kids sometimes do.
Yes.
I don't know how to describe that, but Teal'c's there. He's got a hat on. It looks fedora-ish.
Yeah, that's what I call it.
Kind of tan. I'm adding it to my list.
I was like, ooh, Kathy's hat watch.
Yes. That goes okay with his jacket. I don't know. It wasn't a perfect match for me when they got up close, but that's okay. It's very important.
Extremely.
And Jack is walking towards them as they reach a bench with a dog for Cassandra, who's never seen a dog before. Yeah. So he brings the dog. She goes to greet him, and he tells her that there is a rule on Earth that every kid has got to have a dog.
That should be a rule on Earth.
I know, right?
But we can't even get people to wear masks, so we for sure cannot get people to get all of their kids a dog.
That's true. So he hands her the dog to hold, and then she nuzzles him. And I have two things to say about this. The first is, I'm glad she likes dogs, like, immediately, because
But how could you not?
She could have had a different reaction.
It's
I
true.
know people who don't like dogs.
I don't trust those people.
Yeah, well. The second is, why are they carrying that dog around the entire time? I get her holding him, because Jack was holding him too, so why would she put the dog down? But even later when Jack walks away and takes the dog, he carries the dog away.
Go walk this dog, and then he carries it away.
What is that?
I don't know. It's like those people that walk their dog in a stroller. It drives me crazy when I see that.
At least they're getting exercise, the humans anyway. But why are we carrying this dog?
I don't know. And it's not like it was like a super tiny puppy that like maybe couldn't walk. It looked like it was probably a full-grown dog. It was a small dog, obviously, because they were carrying it, but it wasn't like super young puppy.
Maybe he got her the daintiest dog ever who won't even step on grass.
Maybe. That's like my dog Zoe used to be. She didn't like if it was too wet. She didn't like if it was too dry. She didn't like getting dirt in her toes. She was a very picky dog about what surfaces she would work on. So yeah, maybe this dog was like my dog Zoe was.
Well, way to get this girl a high-maintenance dog for her first dog. Good job, Jack.
Stupid Jack. What were you thinking?
Daniel and Sam sit on the bench. I noticed when Daniel was sitting down, you could see his microphone transmitter on his back belt.
Oh, really?
And I was like, can I pretend that he has an old flip phone that he just wears upside down on the back of his belt for some reason? That's what I'm going with. Daniel wants to know how Carter really knew. The Sam is again like, I just knew. Teal'c's like, mother's instinct. Ugh. He didn't say it like that, but
I know, but it still annoyed me that he said it. Not all women have mother's instinct. Thank you.
No. Carter took that well, though. She wasn't like about it. She was just like, no, I'm not going to keep her for myself. Dr. Frazier's going to take her until they can find parents with the right security clearance to raise her. But she thinks Frazier might want to keep her for herself. They also talk about how the object, now that she's completely away from the gate, is shrinking and being reabsorbed into her system. I liked that the Gould weren't so cruel that if it didn't work, they killed the girl anyway.
Right, that's good at least, I suppose.
Yeah, I don't know. Or maybe they just think people are too stupid and it's clearly not going to fail.
Yeah, that probably
could
is
be
more likely.
too. 'Cause, yeah. Jack takes the dog for a walk in his arms, and Teal'c and Daniel follow. And Carter and Cassandra are left alone. Carter promises to visit and reminds her that the Stargate is a super huge secret, but they've set up a fake backstory where she was born in Toronto, so it's cool. And then they spot a swing that Cassandra has never seen before, And so they go swing in a very happy, sweet, treacly ending
Yep.
to this episode. I didn't hate it, but I was like, oh man, this is really, really sweet.
Yeah, a little too much for me. I'm not a very sentimental person, and I found it annoying.
I mean, it's fine. I didn't want the girl to blow up.
No,
so...
I obviously didn't want the girl
Yeah.
to blow. Just because I found the ending to be too sappy doesn't mean I wanted the kid to die.
Well,
Not that much of a monster.
Funny story. I was on IMDb looking up like the girl who played Cassandra, because I just was like, maybe I know her from things. Apparently, she's got a long, storied career, but I have not seen anything she's in. So, but I actually read people's reviews on IMDb for this episode. I don't know why. That was dumb. But people were mad. They didn't like go full on gritty and blow up this girl at the end.
Wow.
And one person was like, Sam was stupid for staying. She said, what kind of training does the military give? She can't like detach herself. And
so horrible garbage people were reviewing this
horrible
episode,
monsters.
Wow. Okay.
And also, this was also, if this show were made today, maybe they would have blown up a child, but this was the 90s and that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Good times.
Yeah.
So, what do you think of the episode overall, aside from the last scene?
I actually really liked it a lot. I thought that it was a good episode of like thinking this episode was going to be something else because they were dealing with another virus, and I thought, or illness, and I thought they were going to go in that direction. Mm-hmm. Even though I've seen this before, I just clearly didn't remember any of it.
Yeah, some episodes make less of an impression than others.
But then it took a turn to this one girl who has a bomb in her chest. Holy cow! And it's about the gold after all. And I liked the twists of it, and I liked the connection between Sam and the girl. I thought that was really nice, and yeah, it was very emotional in a mostly good way, except for the very, very sweet ending where the girl just gets a dog and lives happily. Anyway, I really liked it. Yeah. It was really nice.
Yeah.
We got to see like a softer side of Carter too. Not that she was super like a hard person, but like she's very like science.
Yeah, I liked it for the most part. I had actually not really remembered much about this episode, so I was also surprised by the whole device thing because I really didn't remember much about the plot at all. So for the most part, I did like it. It always does annoy me a bit when everything on TV is like, oh, all women love babies, all women love kids, so let's show the soft side of Dr. Frasier and Dr. Carter because they're women, so they must love kids. And so as somebody who has chosen to not have too many children in my life,
Same.
As somebody who generally tries to avoid children, I get annoyed by that stereotype because I then run into a bunch of people who are like, oh, you must be so sad that you don't have kids. And, there used to be people that would tell me like, oh, you still have time. It's fine. I'm like, no, I chose this. It's not a matter of whether or not I still have time. This is what I chose with my life to not have
That's
kids.
totally fair.
So it does annoy me to a certain extent when everything on TV just goes by that stereotype of all women love children and will bond with children instantly, even though they don't know the kid and the kid's going through trauma. But if I can look past that annoyance, for overall, I thought it was an enjoyable episode.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. Oh, look, we've got a girl on our team.
Yeah.
She's going to be designated baby mama.
Right.
If there's baby around, she's the mama.
Yeah. And there was that, there was that episode a while back where they're like, maybe Sam can deliver this baby, and she's like, don't look at me. So they don't always fall back on that stereotype.
That's very true.
To the writer's credit.
Yeah. The only more treacly ending of anything that I have encountered is the end of the Harry Potter books.
Yeah. That's a very sappy ending.
I was like, burn those pages, man. Come on. I didn't actually. I don't really burn books.
Yeah,
That would be
Probably
terrible.
don't burn books.
No, not for that. Unless it's literally a life or death situation where you need a fire and all you have are books around to get that going.
Yeah, like in The Day After Tomorrow.
I never saw that.
Oh, it's one of those
Okay.
end of the world movies where they're actually literally burning books to try to keep warm in one scene.
Yes, that's it. We do a lot of prescribing on this show. Like, it's appropriate to do this. It's not appropriate to do this.
We have so much life experience to share with everybody.
It's true. Please enjoy our wisdom.
Yes.
We are SMRT here. So
Indeed. So what are we watching next?
next we are watching. Oh, I thought I had it queued up, but I don't. I don't have the booklet with me because I climbed under this blanket and I wasn't going to climb back out to go get it. So let me find the description on the Netflix again. Hello, Netflix.
Hello, Kathy.
How are you today?
I'm great. Watch a movie on me.
Do people watch movies on you, really?
I just
Don't
watched
they
a
just
movie on
binge?
Netflix today.
I feel like most people just binge TV.
That is what I usually use it most for. But also, I like to watch terrible horror movies, and I watched one this afternoon, and I
Nice.
enjoyed it.
I've been watching Great British Bake Off, so
Yeah, we've already binge watched
So
all of
good.
that. So. Well, I guess you
Nice.
can't really binge watch that one though because it was only coming out once a week anyway.
it was. But I think
Oh,
I
did you
waited
wait?
long enough
Yeah.
that
I love that show.
yeah, me too. Oh look, the Good Place picture has Chidi with an open shirt on in the description, and it just and his thumbs up. It's hilarious.
Awesome.
Anyway, sorry. Anyway, so I found the next episode we're watching. It is called Korai. COR-AI, in case you're curious. It is the 16th episode of season 1, by my count. Teal'c is put on trial by the son of a man he jailed when he served the evil Goa'uld Apophis. That's it.
I don't remember a whole lot about it.
I don't think I do either.
I basically
That
just
one-
remember Teal'c is like, yeah, that's fair. I deserve this.
Yeah.
He's very matter
Oh
of fact about it,
yeah.
as he is about many other things. But that's really
That's
the only thing I
right.
remember about it.
Oh man, I didn't even remember that, but yes, now I do. Okay, yeah. Good of him to take responsibility for his actions.
Yeah, he does. He does try.
I guess. Anyway.
Please make sure you subscribe to us on Apple, Google, Spotify, or whatever other podcatcher you like best, because we're on pretty much all of them, and our episodes are released every other Monday. We are on YouTube as well, and we appreciate reviews very much, especially 5-star reviews. If you'd like to contact us, you can do so on Twitter. We're at Stargatezing, or by email, stargatezing@gmail.com. You can like our page on Facebook or join our Facebook group, and you can also find us on patreon.com/stargatezing if you're feeling generous and would like to contribute to help us cover our costs for producing the podcasts. You can check out our website at stargatezing.space as well. I have been Mary.
I have been Kathy.
And this has been Stargatezing. The end.
The end.